With 20 seasons under its name, we've seen a lot of talent come and go in NCIS, as well as love teams too. Fans have the picks of their favorites, but which ship is more popular than the other? For today's episode, we'll be listing down the top 5 NCIS relationships fans got behind, as well as the 5 others they rejected. So did your ship make it to the yay or is it nay? Keep on watching to find out more only in today's video. On NCIS, there have been many relationships throughout 20 seasons, albeit not all of them have been favored by viewers, but luckily, these 5 earned the fans' support. Starting today's list, we have Tony and Ziva, which is one of the top ships in the show. One of the slowest burns in television history might be the romance between Anthony DiNozzo and Ziva David. Ziva was a member of Gibbs' squad when they first met thanks to Shepard's recommendation. Although she did an excellent job, the crew required some time to adjust to the Israeli transplant. While they were on the same squad, Ziva and Tony had a chemistry that they never let go of, choosing instead to seek other relationships. Fans saw them joke about, watch movies together, and save each other's lives instead of falling in love, at least until Ziva departed the team. Since Tony moved out to care for their daughter and Ziva has been acting dead to tie up loose ends in her past, their love story continues to have an impact on the show in season 17. As much as fans loved Tony and Ziva, they didn't like her pairing with Ray. Ziva briefly dated Ray, a Central Intelligence Agency agent. While the squad was looking for the port-to-port killer, Tony called Ray, who was not so lovingly known as CI Ray. Although Ray seemed kind enough, it didn't sit well with the audience since they were so invested in Tony and the possibility of a romance. Ziva had serious trust issues, which made it worse that Ray repeatedly lied to her, mostly about work because that was the nature of both of their jobs. Another ship fans weren't fond of was Gibbs and Shepard. Shepard, the director of NCIS, was a skilled agent who was intensely focused on her career, as well as a side mission to exact revenge on her father. She and Agent Gibbs had had a relationship, but when she took over as his boss, viewers lost interest in seeing them bring up the past. Fans weren't uninterested in Shepard, rather they simply weren't ready for Gibbs to have a long-term relationship. His history and the circumstances surrounding the deaths of his first wife and daughter were gradually made known in the show's early seasons. Since Shannon's death, all of his relationships had ended in heartache, typically for the woman, and it was obvious that Shepard didn't want to be added to that list twice. Moving on to a fan-favorite ship, we have Tony and Kate. Before fans came to love Ziva, Kate was the fans' beloved. One of Abby Scioto's closest pals, she was the only female member of Team Gibbs. Angering Tony was her favorite activity. They occasionally irritated each other, but they also showed their genuine affection for one another. Even though the authors repeatedly hinted that they had a love for one another, Kate was killed in front of Tony while working on a case. Therefore, this romance was never able to take off. He was mentally disturbed by the encounter, and later on, he imagined her to be there. Even Tony gave her fish a name. Fans were sad to see her leave since she was unquestionably the one who he let get away. And as much as they loved Tony and Kate, they didn't like Ellie and Jake. When Ellie Bishop initially joined the team, Jake was frequently addressed on the show. While employed by the same company, the two fell in love and got married. Their connection was slightly altered when she joined NCIS. Because he wasn't a teammate or someone they got to know, fans weren't initially overly interested in him. Elle's point of view was used for all information learned about Jake. Jake didn't win over the public's favor when he finally showed up in the flesh, although Agent Bishop did. No fan wanted to see Jake keep Ellie after discovering that he had an affair with his wife. Next on the fans' yay list, we have McGee and Abby. Even though Tim McGee is now married to someone else and Abby has left the series, some fans still have hope for the two of them, even though they didn't end up being together for their long haul. During his debut appearance on the show in the first season, McGee offered advice on cases and made advances toward Abby. Off-screen, the two had a relationship that had to have ended by the time he joined Gibbs' crew because it was frequently brought up. After that, McGee and Abby were among the closest friends on the show, which is why viewers believed they may reconcile in the future. And as for Tony and Jeanne, this love team didn't get much of the fans' support. Another casualty of audience attention is the relationship between Tony and Jeanne. He started dating Jeanne while supporters were already pushing for him to be with someone else, as was the case with many of his past relationships. The fact that his connection with her had been founded on deception didn't help. Tony followed Jenny Shepard's orders and adopted a false identity to meet Jian Benoit. He courted Jian to be near her father's business. Shepard thought her own father's death had been caused by Jian's father. It would have never worked with all of those issues in the middle of their relationship. Fans have good reason to be skeptical. Moving forward with another fan favorite ship, we have McGee and Delilah. This may be the one and only instance in which fans supported a current union while still hoping for a former one. While many fans wanted McGee and Abby to get back together romantically, many others were just happy to see him happy when he started showing interest in Delilah. One of the best instances of a happy romantic relationship in the series is that of McGee and Delilah. Just over a dozen episodes in the past few years have included her. Yet, it's obvious how crucial their relationship is to McGee's character development. They had to overcome tragedy and distance before they could get back together, get married, and have children. Fans are hopeful this relationship has a happy ending because not many couples on NCIS do. Now, another love team fans hated was Tony and Paula. When Tony, Kate, and Gibbs were in Cuba working on a case at the beginning of the series, Paula was introduced. Despite some in-episode flirting, Tony and Paula's romance didn't develop until a season later and was largely off-screen. Paula barely made an appearance in a few episodes, but she shared Tony's attitude towards relationships at the time. She played games, flirted, and rarely took things seriously. Fans didn't reject them because of the fact that they were too similar for a good relationship, but rather because of that. Instead, it was brought on by Paula's introduction at a time when viewers were so certain that Tony and Kate were dating. Last but not least of the fan favorites, we have the love team of Ellie and Nick. This is one of the newest possible partnerships in the NCIS canon, but it hasn't yet taken off. NCIS viewers adore a gradual burn from coworkers to romance, and it seems that the writers are approaching these two in a manner similar to how they handled Tony and Ziva. Ellie hasn't precisely shown her feelings, but she's had a tough time. Her previous relationships ended with her husband cheating on her, followed by the murder of her boyfriend. Her fans want to see her happy. Even Ziva David, who has long since left the series, acknowledges Nick's affection for Ellie and implores him to go forward. The two's supporters think it's only a matter of time. NCIS has enthralled and delighted viewers for 20 seasons. The show, which was originally a JAG spinoff, follows a group of special agents as they look into crimes involving the military. It has two offshoot shows of its own, one in Los Angeles and one in New Orleans, providing viewers a glimpse at various aspects of the organization. It is based in Washington, D.C. Although NCIS adheres to the procedural case of the week pattern, the show's core focus is on the investigators who crack the crimes. The interactions between the major cast members have prevented the series from getting boring. Fans who want to see the characters outside of crime solving got full support for some of those connections, but others fell a bit short. So now we know the fans' favorite and least favorite ships. Let's move on to the latest happenings on NCIS. As far as we know, the show's Thanksgiving episode will be explosive, according to Diona Reasonover. Even lab rats Brian Dietzsen's Jimmy and Diona Reasonover's Casey are out in the field as the NCIS team provides security for a Navy admiral who is the Grand Marshal of a Thanksgiving 5K, but chaos breaks out when a shooter opens fire. The fatality is a turkey float exploding after a gunshot strikes its covered generator. The actress claims, and their carefree racing becomes a crime scene right in front of them. So the admiral was the intended victim? Back at the evidence garage, the scientists investigate the burnt husk. As a peacemaker between the siblings, Katrina Law's character, Knight, invites Casey to lunch at her sister's house. Reasonover has a lot to be happy about in the upcoming episode, considering she co-wrote the episode along with Scott Williams. And that wraps up today's episode about NCIS's best and worst ships. Which one is your favorite? Let us know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching today's video, and before you go, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel with the notification bell on for more videos like these. See you next time!